Hi, I'm Kyle, the Iron Knight. Welcome to a new episode of Talk Nerdy TV. Today I got my special guest.
Hi everyone, it's Joe from Double O Joe.
Today on Talk Nerdy, we're going to be talking about a series of stories actually written by my friend here. Really good ones that deserve so much more praise than they actually get. And I realize that sounds like a jab, but no, these are actually really good books. Based around the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, he wrote the book Spider-Man and the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Some of you may know what that is based on this movie. I personally enjoyed that movie.
I know it was such a creative title choice, but I have to admit it did largely inspire the story.
The story. Spoiler warning. Well, we'll try. There will be spoiler warnings here, but we'll try to avoid any big things. But the story is it's fascinating because of the characters that you wrote. How did just name a few that he wrote in? We have the Shadow, the Phantom, the Green Hornet, a lot of does.
I well, it kind of shows you the what can come about with the power of boredom, because the truth is that's kind of why I originally started writing these stories in the first place. See, I was at a point where I was working at a car rental place in Scotland like 10 or so years ago.
Oh,
And
that ages us.
yeah, I know I choose not to think about it. But yeah, there was just a point that I was just really bored. It was just go to work, go home, go to work, go home. And yeah, I watched the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoons, and I don't know, when you work that job, you get a lot of time to yourself, a lot of free time to be alone with your thoughts.
I've
Because I
had
was a
jobs.
valeter, I cleaned cars, so my mind was preoccupied with other things.
I've had jobs like that. They're in body but not in mind.
Pretty much, pretty much. But anyway, like my mind started wandering, and yeah, it wasn't a while till I watched the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. I liked it. I liked it. It was very different, but
It had to grow on me. It kind of bugged me at first, personally.
fair enough, fair enough. But uh, so sometime later, I just happened to watch League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and then again, not long after that, I ended up watching Alec Baldwin's The Shadow. A
Good.
really,
If you haven't seen it, it's a really good movie.
yeah, I think it's really underrated. Really underrated. It really gives off that. You know what? It has a real Tim Burton's Batman kind of vibe to it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Oh God, that was just a thought I put in everyone's head. The Shadow by Tim Burton.
I'd watch it. But
But anyway, and
how did you choose your characters? Because again, there's a lot. You have a lot of noir characters in this series in this book.
well, well, it was because I always liked the pulp era characters just because they were very, very different. They were very different from a lot of the modern Marvel, DC uh, superheroes that's more mainstream now. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're better. They were just, like I said, they were just a
They
little
were
bit.
useful for their era.
Yeah, exactly. They were useful for their era, and they were just so different that it was what attracted me to them. But yeah, it was the idea of it got me thinking of like, whoa. In the TV show Ultimate Spider-Man, it was a very common theme of Spidey teaming up from other with other heroes and learning learning lessons from them. life lessons and all that. And whether they were good or bad, that's up for debate. But it kind of got me thinking of what could he learn? What could he have learned from these heroes, the pulp era? Heroes would probably have like entirely different, um, basically different moral values. See, one of the things that I liked about those characters is that many of them, they're more practical, they're more realistic. Like they're not above killing their enemies basically to save the day.
They solve the problem.
Exactly, exactly. But like you compare them to moral, sorry, you can compare them to uh, modern heroes now. There's always this high standard, this high virtue. Batman doesn't kill, Spider-Man doesn't kill, Superman doesn't. And it just got me things like how much of a conflict it would be of having a modern hero like Spider-Man teaming up with these pulp classic heroes.
And just so you all know, the story starts out in the modern times, roughly 2010, I think it was.
Yeah, it was about that.
But
That was
ends
roughly when
up
I started.
but ends up traveling back to 1932. The characters in the story, we got Rocketeer, Phantom, Shadow, Green Hornet, Kato, and I love that you even took one from Marvel, Swift Cloud, who's only, as far as my experience, only time you ever see her in the comics is in the Marvel Zombie series, which was nice because it really let you write out her own lore without having to, because she didn't have much of her own anyway.
I admit that was pretty fun. See, the main reason I chose Swift Cloud was because, okay, let's face it, in the pulp era comics when they came out, um, there weren't exactly a lot of female representation in it. And the reason why I chose Swift Cloud is because even though she's more of a modern invention, she's with Marvel, but kind of like Rocketeer, she was heavily inspired by the pulp era, even though she wasn't actually made during then. Because it was the same with Rocketeer. Technically, he's not a pulp hero because he was actually made during the 70s, I think. And but he was an inspiration on a, a particular archetype of the pulp era, the Rocket Man.
The Rocket still being taking place in the 1930s, rockets was still new technology.
Exactly, it was still as Captain America would probably put it. It was still the realm of science fiction to them. And so yeah, that's why I chose Rocketeer, because he was like the perfect amalgamation of that particular hero, the Rocket Man. So he had to be included.
With the success that it was, how do you feel it's affected your life? Because
How does it affect?
like looking at you now,
What,
you have very you have motion comics now. You do some great videos on YouTube. Links down below. You you're actually you're getting some good traction. Like, how do you feel that this has changed your life?
how has this changed my life? If just in case you're wondering, guys, this is actually how we met. This is how me and Cal originally met. We
I was going to ask another question, but I didn't want to come off too narcissistic.
Oh no, you couldn't avoid it. You couldn't avoid bringing this up. But yeah, guys, these stories. It's actually how we first met. Kyle left a very kind review on one of the stories, and
I don't even remember what I said.
Basically we ended up chatting away. We ended up talking. Next thing you know, I'm on a plane to America visiting you, and we've been close friends ever since. But
Holy crap! It's been 11 years.
Yeah, 11 years, all birthed from that one story, and everything I've done since then. Because my YouTube channel, the other projects that I've worked on. Hell, heck, I'm even working on a proper book series myself now.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's still in development. It's still in development, and yeah. It's I think it's coming along pretty well. It's something that I'm excited about working on. So I felt like these stories they helped they help me express my creative writing. It gave me a chance to to practice, to develop, to evolve my style, if you will. And yeah, they came along pretty well because I remember, oh, the original. Like, don't get me wrong, I love it, but I go
Yeah,
back and read some of it now, and all I can think of is, oh, I wish I did that instead, or I wish I wrote that a little differently. It's one of the pains of like not just a writer but any creative
yeah.
when you look back at
I
all the
can't
work.
watch some of my own videos because like, nope, could have done that better. The but no, it's just, he actually did go back and rewrite the first story, calling it the Knights of Noir.
Yeah, it was because the story was getting a lot of attention, and like I said, I kept developing some of the ideas, like like in my head, I was thinking of things like, oh, I wish I thought of that idea before, or I wish I developed this thing a bit further, and I decided just to go back and do it. So I didn't change much. Like, if you look at it, like I altered um, a large number of the chapters slightly, and I've only completely replaced and added new chapters, like not that many of them.
But yeah, the original story sparked what 5 books now. Um, Extraordinary Gentleman, Calm Moment. Like he wrote three books and two in between, and small in between ones to tie them together.
Aye. We have yeah, the I like to call Spider-Man LXG, so League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. There was a mini story I wrote after that, The Next Step. That was basically
The
a
aftermath.
story that kind of added that explored Peter and Ava's relationship a bit more
Spoilers.
because even though they weren't really together that much in the original book, I did have some ideas for chapters I wanted to do, so that's why I created that. Just it was just a little story to have both of them in it and have it centered around them. But I then used it to set up the next main story, Rise of the Brotherhood.
Good one. Recommend it. The
I will say, Rise of the Brotherhood's probably my favorite.
I'm torn between Knights of Noir and part one of the final book. No. Rise of the Brotherhood and the mini story that took place between part one and part two of the final story. When Peter was in that unfortunate situation.
Yeah. We're not going to spoil it. We're not going to spoil it or anything, but
Link down below.
but yeah, like I said, out of all of them, I would say Rise of the Brotherhood's probably my favorite one. If you're not including the original story.
Okay. Just because the original story is what started it all doesn't mean it has to be a favorite. Look at New Hope. That started it all, and most people like Empire Strikes Back more.
Well, this is my Empire Strikes Back. Plot twists and all.
Oh, good times. Anyway, Joe, thank you for coming on today. Thank you for just writing a great story.